The warning lights flashed across the sensor station deep inside the Valorian Imperial Command Center. Technician Velamora leaned forward, her three eyes narrowing at the display. Something was moving through the forbidden reaches, and that should have been impossible. "Commander," she called out, her voice steady despite the confusion twisting in her stomach. "I have an unidentified contact in Sector 749. Commander Thanel crossed the command deck in 4 long strides. His scales gleamed under the blue lighting as he studied the readings. The forbidden reaches were aptly named. Solar radiation storms, gravitational anomalies, and rogue asteroids made the region a graveyard for any ship foolish enough to enter. Nothing lived there. Nothing could. Sensor malfunction? Thanel suggested, but his tone held doubt. "Negative, sir. I am reading solid mass. Metallic hull composition, definitely a ship." Velamora adjusted her instruments, trying to pull more information from the scattered data, but the energy signature is wrong. Wrong how? It does not match any known civilization in our database. The reactor design, the hull materials, even the shape. Nothing matches. Thanel felt a flutter of interest. The Valorian Empire controlled 3,000 star systems. Their databases contained information on every known species, every ship design, every technology in the galaxy. An unknown vessel was impossible. It was also exactly the kind of discovery that could advance a career. "Send the readings to Fleet Admiral Kreshna," Thanel ordered. "Mark it as priority." Within the hour, the response came back. Admiral Kreshna wanted that ship. He wanted it examined, catalogued, and brought back to the Empire. A reconnaissance squadron was already being assembled. The squadron consisted of 6 ships, 4 interceptors, 1 science vessel, and a boarding craft. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the forbidden reaches and began their approach. Captain Dravor commanded the mission from his interceptor, the Talon's Edge. "Visual confirmed," his pilot reported. "I have the target on screen." Dravor studied the image. The ship tumbled slowly through space, end over end, like a piece of debris caught in an invisible current. It was huge, not as large as an Imperial dreadnought, but bigger than any civilian vessel he had ever seen. The hull was dark, pitted with micrometeorite impacts, and sections showed clear damage from what looked like catastrophic system failures. "It looks ancient," his second officer murmured. "Scan it," Dravor commanded. "Full spectrum analysis." The science vessel moved closer, its advanced sensors sweeping across the unknown ship. The data that came back only deepened the mystery. The hull was composed of steel alloys and carbon composites. Primitive materials centuries out of date, but the design showed sophistication. Internal compartments, massive fuel tanks, what appeared to be agricultural sections, living quarters for thousands. "It is a colony ship," the science officer reported, surprise clear in her voice. "A generation ship designed for multi-century voyages." Dravor felt a chill. Generation ships were relics. Most species had developed faster than light travel thousands of years ago. Building a ship to crawl between stars at sublight speeds was something only primitive civilizations attempted. But if this ship was that old, where had it come from? And more importantly, why was it not in any Imperial records? "Life signs?" Dravor asked, faint. "Yes, I am detecting biorhythms. At least 30 signals. They are weak, possibly in some form of suspended animation." "The ship is still functional?" "Partially. Main power is offline, but I am reading backup systems. Cryo-storage units are still operating on emergency reserves." Dravor made his decision. "Prepare the boarding team. We are going inside." The boarding craft attached itself to an airlock on the unknown ship's port side. 20 soldiers in full combat armor cycled through, weapons ready, scanners active. They entered corridors lit only by dim emergency lighting. The air was cold and thin. Frost covered the walls. Squad leader Kresheva advanced carefully, her weapons sweeping left and right. Everything about this ship felt wrong. The corridors were too narrow, the gravity too heavy. The writing on the walls was in a script she had never seen before. "This way," one of her soldiers said, following the life sign readings. They moved deeper into the ship, passing through sealed doors that opened reluctantly, their mechanisms struggling after centuries of neglect. They found the cryo bay. Rows of pods lined the walls, hundreds of them. Most were dark, their occupants long dead, but some still glowed with soft blue light, their systems functioning, their precious cargo alive. Kresheva approached the nearest active pod. Through the frosted glass, she could see a face. It was alien, but not unrecognizable. 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth. Pale skin, dark hair. The face looked peaceful, asleep, unaware that its journey had ended in failure. "Mark this location," Kreshva ordered. "We need to," one of the pods hissed. Pressure seals released with a sound like a sigh. The glass cover slid open and vapor poured out. The figure inside stirred. Eyes opened. Brown eyes, confused and frightened. Kreshva raised her weapon, pointing it at the awakening alien. Around her, 20 other weapons did the same. The creature sat up slowly, coughing, shivering in the cold. It looked at them, at their armor, at their weapons. Then it spoke, words tumbling out in a language Kreshva did not understand. The translator device on Kreshva's belt chirped and began processing. After a moment it spoke in Valorian. "Where am I? What happened? Where is my crew?" Kreshva kept her weapon steady. "You are in Imperial custody. Identify yourself and your vessel." The creature looked around, realization dawning in those strange brown eyes. When it spoke again, the translator carried a tone of deep sadness. "I am Dr. Sarah Chen, Chief Engineer of the United Earth spaceship Perseverance. We left Earth 847 years ago." The creature called Sarah paused, her voice breaking. "We were supposed to reach New Terra. Did we make it?" "Did we finally make it?" Kreshva felt something cold settle in her chest. Earth. The name meant nothing. It was not in any database, not on any star chart. This creature, this human, had traveled for centuries to reach a destination she would never see. And the Valorian Empire had just found her. Sarah Chen's legs trembled as she stood. 847 years of sleep ended in a heartbeat, and her body protested every movement. The aliens surrounding her kept their weapons pointed at her chest. Their armor was sleek and advanced, making her feel like a primitive pulled from the ancient past. "New Terra," one of the aliens said, the translator making its voice sound flat and emotionless. "We have no record of such a colony. We have no record of Earth. You will surrender control of this vessel." Sarah's mind raced. No record of Earth? That was impossible, unless something terrible had happened. Unless Earth was gone. The thought made her stomach twist with grief and fear. "I need to check the navigation system," Sarah said, moving toward a console. "I need to know what happened." "Stop," the alien commanded. "You will not touch any controls." Sarah stopped, raising her hands. "This is my ship. These are my people." She gestured at the rows of cryopods. "Some of them are still alive. They need help, please." The alien squad leader seemed to consider this. After a moment, she lowered her weapon slightly. "You may check your people, but touch nothing else." Sarah moved from pod to pod, her heart breaking with each one. So many dead. Power failures, system malfunctions, the slow entropy of time. Out of 2,000 colonists, only 37 pods still showed active signs. 37 souls remaining from humanity's great mission to the stars. She reached the pod containing Marcus Webb, the ship's captain. His pod was dark. He was gone. Sarah felt tears on her cheeks. Marcus had been her friend, her mentor. Now he would never see the new world they had dreamed of. "Your species," the alien said behind her. "Humans. We have never encountered you before." "Where is your home world?" "Earth," Sarah said quietly. "Sol system. Third planet from the sun." She turned to face the alien. "You really do not know about us?" "About humanity?" "No. Our database contains every known civilization. You are not among them." Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold air. "How large is your empire?" "The Valorian Empire controls 3,000 star systems across this spiral arm of the galaxy. 3,000 systems." Sarah tried to process that number. When the Perseverance left Earth, humanity had barely colonized Mars and a few asteroid stations. In 800 years, had humanity expanded? Had they joined this galactic community? Or had something worse happened? "I need to access the ship's computer," Sarah said. "I need to send a message. I need to find out if Earth still exists. That is not permitted. This vessel is now property of the Valorian Empire. You and your surviving crew will be taken into custody for processing." "Processing?" Sarah's voice rose with alarm. "What does that mean?" "It means you will be studied. Your technology will be examined. Your people will be relocated to an appropriate facility." "No." Sarah's voice was quiet but firm. "We are not your property. This ship belongs to humanity. These people are under my protection." The alien squad leader tilted her head. "You are in no position to refuse." Look around you. Your ship is dead. Your people are defenseless. You have no weapons, no allies, no options. Submit peacefully and you will be treated well. Sarah looked at the alien warriors, at their advanced armor and weapons. Then she looked at the cryopods containing the last remnants of her crew. She thought about Marcus, who had trusted her to keep the ship running. She thought about Earth, about humanity, about the dream that had sent 2,000 people into the darkness between stars. Ajax, Sarah said clearly. Authorization Chen Delta 7. Activate ship defense protocols. The alien squad leader jerked her weapon up. What did you— The lights throughout the ship suddenly blazed to full power. Klaxons blared. The Perseverance's virtual intelligence, silent for decades due to power conservation, roared back to life. Defense protocols activated, a calm male voice announced over the speakers. Unauthorized personnel detected. Initiating quarantine procedures. Bulkhead doors slammed shut throughout the ship, separating the boarding team into smaller groups. The airlock where their craft was docked, sealed, and locked. Emergency systems hummed to life, drawing power from reserves Sarah had carefully maintained over the centuries. What have you done? The squad leader demanded, pointing her weapon directly at Sarah's face. I am protecting my crew, Sarah said calmly, though her heart hammered in her chest. Ajax will not harm you if you leave peacefully, but if you try to take this ship by force, it will defend itself. On the Talon's edge, Captain Dravor watched his tactical display in disbelief. The dead ship had suddenly come alive. Power readings were spiking across multiple systems. His boarding team was trapped inside, separated into small groups by sealed doors. The ship has activated some kind of defensive system, his tactical officer reported. I am reading weapons charging. Point defense turrets, magnetic accelerators, something else I cannot identify. A derelict ship does not just wake up, Dravor said. Somebody is controlling it. The human, his second officer said. It must be the human. Dravor opened a communication channel to the boarding team. Squad Leader Kresheva report. The reply was tense. Sir, the human activated the ship's computer. It has locked us in. We are trapped. Can you override the locks? Negative. The technology is strange. I cannot interface with their systems. Dravor felt frustration rising. Threaten the human. Make it shut down the defenses. Inside the Perseverance, Kresheva grabbed Sarah by the arm, her grip painfully tight. Shut it down now, or I will kill you. Sarah met the alien's gaze without flinching. If you kill me, Ajax will vent the atmosphere from every section you are in. You will die, all of you. Is that what you want? Kresheva hesitated. She could see the truth in the human's eyes. This creature was not bluffing. Captain, Sarah said, still speaking to Kresheva. I do not want violence. I just want to protect my people and find out what happened to our mission. Let us go, and I promise no harm will come to you or your team. You are making a serious mistake, Kresheva said. The Valorian Empire does not negotiate with lesser species. You cannot win this. Maybe not, Sarah admitted. But I can try. That is what humans do. We try, even when it seems impossible. Kresheva stared at the human for a long moment. Then she released Sarah's arm and tapped her communicator. Captain Dravor, I recommend we withdraw. The situation is escalating beyond control. There was a pause. Then Dravor's voice came back, hard with anger. Negative, stand by. We are coming to retrieve you. Sir, I strongly advise— That is an order, squad leader. Sarah felt her stomach drop. They were not going to leave peacefully. She looked at the cryopods, at her sleeping crewmates who depended on her. She had kept them alive for 800 years. She would not fail them now. Ajax, she said quietly, prepare for hostile action. Protect the crew at all costs. Understood, the virtual intelligence replied. Defensive measures authorized. Outside the Perseverance, Captain Dravor ordered his ships forward. He would cut through the hull if necessary. Retrieve his soldiers and capture this defiant human. She would learn what it meant to challenge the Valorian Empire. What Dravor did not know was that the Perseverance had crossed space for 8 centuries, surviving dangers no Valorian ship had ever faced. Its systems were old, but they were built by humans who understood that space was hostile and unforgiving. As the Valorian ships closed in, the Perseverance's point defense guns locked onto their targets and waited for the command to fire. Captain Dravor watched his tactical display as 2 of his interceptors moved toward the human ship. Their mission was simple. Cut through the hull, extract the boarding team, and teach this primitive creature a lesson about Valorian superiority. Weapons free, Dravor commanded. Disable their power systems but avoid hitting the cryo-storage sections. Fleet Admiral Kreshna wants those humans intact for study. The interceptors open fire with plasma cutters, brilliant beams of superheated energy designed to slice through hull plating. The beams struck the Perseverance's dark hull and began burning through the outer layers. Inside the ship, alarms screamed. Sarah watched her damaged displays light up with red warnings. Ajax status? Hull breach imminent in sections 12 through 15. Defensive systems ready. Awaiting authorization. Sarah felt sick. She had never wanted this. But the Valorians gave her no choice. They treated her people like specimens, her ship like salvage. She would not let them take everything humanity had worked for. Fire, she whispered. The Perseverance had been designed to travel through interstellar space for centuries. That journey required protection from micrometeorites, space debris, and radiation. The ship's point defense system consisted of magnetic railguns, capable of tracking and destroying objects moving at incredible speeds. They were meant to clear a path through cosmic debris fields. They had never been meant as weapons. The railguns spun to life, their targeting systems locking onto the two approaching interceptors. Tungsten slugs accelerated down magnetic rails, leaving the guns at a significant fraction of light speed. At this range, the interceptors had no time to react. The first slug punched through the interceptor's forward shield generator. The second destroyed its engine core. The third tore through the crew compartment. The ship simply came apart, breaking into tumbling pieces that scattered across space. The second interceptor tried to turn away, its pilot finally realizing the danger. But the Perseverance's targeting computer tracked it easily. More slugs fired. The interceptor's hull shredded like paper. Its fusion reactor went critical, creating a brief new star that faded as quickly as it appeared. On the Talon's edge, Dravor stared at his display in shock. 2 of his ships, gone. Destroyed in seconds by a derelict colony vessel that should not even have working weapons. Analysis. He barked at his tactical officer. Kinetic weapons, sir. Magnetic accelerators firing solid projectiles at extreme velocity. Our shields are designed to deflect energy weapons and slow-moving objects. These slugs are too fast, too dense. They punched straight through. Dravor felt something he had not experienced in years, fear. Pull back. All ships retreat to safe distance. The Valorian squadron withdrew, moving beyond the range of those devastating railguns. Dravor immediately opened a channel to Fleet Admiral Kreshna. The Admiral's face appeared on the screen, his expression stern. Report, Captain. Sir, the human ship is armed and hostile. We have lost 2 interceptors. The vessel is using primitive kinetic weapons that our shields cannot stop effectively. Kreshna's eyes narrowed. Kinetic weapons? That is ancient technology. Ancient but effective, sir. I request reinforcements. Denied. You have 4 ships remaining. Use them. I will not have my officers defeated by a single damaged colony vessel crewed by 1 primitive alien. Sir, my boarding team is still trapped inside. Then retrieve them and destroy that ship. Those are your orders, Captain. The screen went dark. Dravor sat back in his command chair, his mind racing. He had underestimated the humans. That would not happen again. Inside the Perseverance, Sarah leaned against a console, her hands shaking. She had just killed people. Aliens, yes, but still living beings. The weight of it crushed down on her. 2 hostile vessels destroyed. Ajax reported calmly. Remaining Valorian ships have withdrawn to defensive positions. Our boarding team remains contained in sections 7, 12, and 18. Casualties? Sarah asked quietly. None among our crew. The Perseverance took minor damage to hull sections 12 and 15. Repairs within acceptable parameters. Sarah closed her eyes. No human casualties because all her people were frozen, helpless, depending on her to keep them safe. But she had just started a war with an empire that controlled 3,000 star systems. What had she done? Ajax, can we run? Can we get away from them? The fusion torch drive is functional. However, our maximum velocity is insufficient to escape Valorian pursuit. Their faster-than-light drives give them a significant tactical advantage. Then we need to buy time. I need to wake more of the crew. I need help. Sarah moved through the ship, checking systems and making repairs. The Perseverance had been her home for the subjective years she spent awake during the voyage, performing maintenance while the others slept. She knew every corridor, every system, every weakness. She selected 3 more cryopods. Lieutenant James Morrison, former Earth Defense Force. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, medical specialist. Engineer Carlos Rivera, her best friend and the man who had helped her design half the ship's systems. One by one, she initiated their revival sequences. It would take hours for them to wake fully, but she needed them. She could not do this alone. Outside, Captain Dravor was planning his next move. He studied the human ship's design, looking for weaknesses. The vessel was huge, but it had blind spots. The railguns had limited firing arcs. If he approached from multiple directions simultaneously, some of his ships would get through. All vessels, listen carefully, Dravor transmitted. We will execute a coordinated assault. 4 vectors, simultaneous approach. Their weapons cannot cover all of us at once. Talon's Edge will take Vector 1, Swift Retribution Vector 2, Void Stalker Vector 3. Science vessel Dawn's Light will hang back and provide sensor support. His officers acknowledged the orders. Dravor felt confidence returning. The humans had scored an early victory through surprise, but the Valorian Empire had not conquered 3,000 star systems by giving up after one setback. Execute in 60 seconds. All ships, weapons hot. The countdown began. Dravor watched the numbers fall, his hand resting on the firing controls. When the counter reached 0, 3 Valorian ships accelerated toward the Perseverance from different angles, their plasma weapons charging. Sarah saw them coming on her sensors. Ajax was already calculating firing solutions, but the virtual intelligence was right. The railguns could not hit all 3 targets. At least one ship would get close enough to do serious damage. Ajax, randomize our orientation. Keep moving. Make us a harder target, acknowledged. Activating maneuvering thrusters. The Perseverance began to roll and pitch, its massive bulk moving ponderously through space. The railguns fired, tracking the closest interceptor. Slugs tore through space. The interceptor's pilot was better than the first 2, dodging and weaving. But one slug caught the ship's wing, tearing it off. The interceptor spun away, damaged but not destroyed. The other 2 ships came on, firing their plasma weapons. Energy beams struck the Perseverance's hull, burning through armor plating. Alarms screamed. Sections began losing atmosphere. Sarah grabbed a support rail as the ship shuddered from the impacts. Ajax, damage report. Hull breaches in sections 9, 14, and 22. Fires in the hydroponics bay. Life support compromised in 3 sections. Seal those sections. Reroute power to a massive impact threw Sarah to the floor. One of the Valorian ships had rammed the Perseverance, its reinforced prow designed for exactly this maneuver. The enemy ship attached itself to the hull like a parasite. They are cutting through, Ajax warned. Multiple breach points. They will be inside within minutes. Sarah pulled herself up, her mind racing. She ran toward the armory, a small section near the bridge where the original crew had stored tools and equipment. There, locked away for 800 years, was humanity's backup plan. When the Perseverance left Earth, the world was still recovering from the unification wars. The ship's designers knew that space was dangerous. They had planned for everything. Sarah opened the weapons locker and stared at the rifles inside. Old-fashioned projectile weapons, unchanged in design for centuries because they worked. Beside them were toolkits that could be used as improvised weapons, emergency supplies, and pressure suits. She grabbed a rifle, checked its charge, and moved toward the breach points. The Valorians wanted to take her ship. They would learn that humans did not surrender easily. The Valorian cutting torches burned through the Perseverance's hull in 3 places. Captain Dravor led the assault team personally this time. He would not fail again. The human and her primitive ship had embarrassed him long enough. His soldiers poured through the breaches, weapons ready, scanning for targets. The corridors were dark except for emergency lighting. Frost covered the walls. The air was thin and cold. Spread out, Dravor commanded. Find the human. Take her alive if possible. The soldiers moved in standard formation, clearing rooms and corridors with practiced efficiency. They had done this 1,000 times before, boarding enemy vessels, suppressing resistance, claiming victory for the Empire. This should have been no different. The first indication that something was wrong came when Private Telvan rounded a corner and simply disappeared. One moment he was there, the next moment gone. His squad mates heard a sharp crack like breaking metal, then silence. Telvan, report, the squad leader called. No response. They found him 10 meters down the corridor, a hole punched clean through his armor and the wall behind him. Dead. Killed by something moving too fast to see. Contact, another soldier shouted. I see another crack. The soldier dropped, armor cracked open, green blood pooling on the floor. Drevor felt his scales prickle with alarm. All units, defensive positions. We are under attack. From the shadows ahead, a figure appeared. The human woman, Sarah Chen, held a weapon Drevor had only seen in historical archives. A projectile rifle, ancient, primitive, deadly. She fired again. The bullet tore through a soldier's helmet before he could raise his plasma rifle. She moved immediately, disappearing around another corner before return fire could find her. She is one target, Drevor shouted. 20 of us. Pin her down and eliminate her. But Sarah knew this ship. She had walked these corridors for years. She knew every shortcut, every maintenance tunnel, every place to hide. The Valorians were invaders in unfamiliar territory. She led them deeper into the ship, firing when they got close, falling back when they tried to surround her. Each shot counted. Each bullet was precious. But each shot also found its target with terrifying accuracy. In the cryo bay, Lieutenant James Morrison's eyes opened. The revival process had been rushed and his body screamed in protest. But years of military training kicked in. He assessed his situation in seconds. Ship under attack, alarms blaring, weapons fire echoing through the corridors. He stumbled from his pod and found the weapons locker Sarah had opened. He grabbed a rifle and extra magazines, his hands moving on muscle memory. Then he heard footsteps approaching, heavy, armored, not human. Morrison positioned himself behind a support column and waited. 3 Valorian soldiers entered the cryo bay, scanning for targets. Morrison let them get inside, let them split up to search the large room. Then he stepped out and opened fire. 3-round bursts, center mass. The techniques drilled into him during the unification wars came flooding back. The Valorian armor was tough, but the armor-piercing rounds punched through. 3 soldiers down in as many seconds. Morrison grabbed their weapons, studied them briefly, then moved toward the sounds of heaviest fighting. Sarah needed help. In the Imperial science vessel Dawn's Light hanging back from the battle, Dr. Thelris made a discovery that filled her with cold dread. She had been researching the humans, trying to find any reference to Earth or this mysterious species. Deep in the oldest archives, in files marked as restricted and nearly forgotten, she found something. A warning placed by the precursors, the ancient civilization that had ruled the galaxy millions of years ago before mysteriously vanishing. The warning was simple and terrifying. Sol system. Quarantine maintained. Do not approach. Aggressive species. Extreme danger. Coordinates followed. Dr. Thelris checked them against current star charts. The Sol system was there, a yellow star in a distant spiral arm. Exactly where the human Sarah had said Earth was located. The precursors had sealed humanity away. They had forbidden contact, and the Valorian Empire had just broken that ancient quarantine. Dr. Thelris immediately transmitted her findings to Fleet Admiral Kreshna. His response came back within minutes, acknowledged. Continue current operations. Ancient warnings are not relevant to Imperial doctrine. The scientist sat back, her hands trembling. The precursors had never been wrong. If they had locked humanity away, they had a reason. A very good reason. Back on the Perseverance, Sarah met up with Morrison in a junction corridor. She almost shot him before recognizing his face. "Lieutenant," she gasped, exhausted and running on adrenaline. "You are awake." "Ma'am." Morrison's voice was rough from cryo-sleep, but his eyes were clear and focused. "Situation report? Hostile aliens boarding the ship. Empire called the Valorians. They wanted to take us prisoner, take the ship. I refused. Now we are at war." Morrison absorbed this information and nodded. "Rules of engagement? Defend the ship. Protect the crew. Stay alive, understood." Morrison checked his rifle. "How many hostiles?" "Started with about 30 in the first boarding team. I have taken down 6. You got 3. Unknown how many in the current assault. Then we keep them busy until help arrives." "Help?" Sarah laughed bitterly. "Lieutenant, Earth sent us out 800 years ago. For all we know, humanity is extinct. No help is coming." Morrison smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "Ma'am, I served in the unification wars. I fought in South America, Central Asia, and the Pacific Coalition. I learned one thing. Humans do not quit. If Earth survived, if humanity survived, they kept growing. They kept building ships. We were just the first wave." Sarah wanted to believe him. She wanted to hope. But right now, survival was enough of a challenge. "Ajax," she called. Status on the assault teams? Multiple Valorian units throughout the ship. I'm attempting to herd them into sections where I can seal doors and trap them. However, they are learning the layout and becoming more difficult to contain. Can you wake more crew? Dr. Tanaka and Engineer Rivera will be conscious within the hour. However, I must warn you, power reserves are critically low. The railgun fire, life support, and defensive systems are draining our batteries faster than the backup reactor can recharge them. Sarah felt despair trying to drag her down. They were running out of time, out of power, out of options. Then Morrison touched her shoulder. "Ma'am, look." He pointed at a monitor showing external cameras. In the distance, something was happening. Space itself seemed to ripple and tear. Energy readings spiked across all sensors. "What is that?" Sarah whispered. Ajax's voice carried something Sarah had never heard from the virtual intelligence before. Surprise. Faster-than-light emergence. Large vessel. Energy signature unknown. It is broadcasting on all frequencies. What is it saying? The message is in Old English, ma'am. Translating now. Ajax paused. The message reads, "Attention unidentified vessels. This is the United Earth spaceship Indomitable, 2nd Fleet 7th Battle Group. You are firing on a human vessel. Cease hostile action immediately or be destroyed." Sarah's legs nearly gave out. Morrison caught her, his own face showing shock and joy. "I told you," Morrison said, his voice thick with emotion. "I told you humans don't quit." On the Talon's edge, Captain Drever stared at his sensors in disbelief. The new ship was enormous, twice the size of an Imperial dreadnought. Its weapon systems were lighting up his display like a star-going nova, and it was not alone. 2 more ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, flanking the first. Sleek, predatory designs that looked nothing like the lumbering Perseverance. "Pull back," Drever ordered, his voice tight with barely controlled panic. "All units return to ships. We are leaving now, but it was too late." The human warships opened fire. The UESS Indomitable did not fire immediately. Instead, it launched something Captain Drever had never seen before. Thousands of small objects that scattered across space like seeds thrown to the wind. "What are those?" his tactical officer asked, voice tight with fear. "Scanning," another officer replied. "They are small craft, unmanned. Wait, they are moving, coordinating. By the ancestors, they are swarming." The drones moved with purpose and precision that no organic pilot could match. They flowed around, the Valorian ships like water around stones, each one linking its targeting data with thousands of others, creating a network of death that saw everything and forgot nothing. Drever barely had time to shout an order before the drones attacked. They did not use plasma weapons or lasers. Instead, they released electromagnetic pulses that crashed through the Valorian ship systems like hammers through glass. Lights died. Engines failed. Weapons went offline. The Valorian ships drifted helplessly as their systems rebooted, trying to recover from the electronic assault. Then the human warships fired their main weapons. Not at the ships themselves, but carefully, precisely, at weapons arrays and engine cores. The message was clear. "We could have destroyed you, but we are showing mercy." The Talon's edge took a hit to its main plasma cannon. The weapon simply ceased to exist, vaporized by whatever the humans had fired. Drever felt his ship shudder, but the hull remained intact. They were alive, helpless, but alive. "This is Commander Elizabeth Park of the UESS Indomitable," a voice said over the communication channel, speaking perfect Valorian. "You have 30 seconds to evacuate your boarding teams from the Perseverance and surrender, or we will destroy your vessels. This is your only warning." Drever looked at his dead consul, at his trapped soldiers inside the human colony ship, at the 3 human warships that held his entire squadron at their mercy. He had no options left. "All assault teams, return to breach points immediately. We are surrendering." The words tasted like poison, but he said them anyway. Inside the Perseverance, the Valorian soldiers heard their captain's order. They began falling back, moving toward the hull breaches they had cut. Sarah and Morrison followed at a distance, weapons ready, ensuring the invaders actually left. Squad leader Kresheva was the last to reach the breach point. She turned and looked back at Sarah, their eyes meeting across the corridor. In that moment, 2 soldiers recognized each other as professionals who had simply been on opposite sides. You fought well, human, Kresheva said through her translator. But this is not over. The Empire will return. We always do. Then we will be ready, Sarah replied. We always are. Kresheva nodded once, then disappeared through the breach. Minutes later, the Valorian ships that could still maneuver limped away, dragging their damaged companions with them. They left the battlefield in defeat, something they had not experienced in generations. The 3 human warships maintained defensive positions around the Perseverance as a smaller craft detached from the Indomitable and approached. Sarah met them at the main airlock, Morrison beside her. The airlock opened, and Commander Elizabeth Park stepped through. She was tall, dark-skinned, with gray streaking her close-cropped hair. Her uniform bore insignias Sarah had never seen before, but the patch on her shoulder showed Earth, beautiful and blue. Dr. Sarah Chen? Park asked, her voice warm despite the circumstances. Yes. Commander, I do not understand. How did you find us? How did you get here? Park smiled. Your ship's distress beacon has been transmitting for 3 days. When we picked it up and realized it was from the Perseverance, the entire Second Fleet mobilized. You are legends back home, Doctor. Every child learns about the generation ships, the brave souls who left Earth before we had FTL drives. Sarah felt tears streaming down her face. Earth still exists? Humanity survived? Survived? Park laughed. Doctor, humanity has expanded to over 400 star systems. We have a population of 600 billion people. We have colonies, fleets, research stations, and yes, we have been looking for the generation ships for 200 years. You are the first one we have found with survivors. Morrison cleared his throat, his own eyes wet. Ma'am, respectfully, what took you so long? We have been traveling for 8 centuries. Park's expression grew serious. The generation ships were sent in all directions, Lieutenant. Space is vast. We have been searching, but finding a single ship in an entire galaxy. She shook her head. You made it further than any of the others we found. 300 light years from Earth. You nearly made it to your destination. New Terra? Sarah asked. It is called Hawking's Hope now. Human colony. Population 3 million established 120 years ago. You would have loved it. Sarah laughed and cried at the same time. They had been trying to reach a world that humanity had already colonized. All that struggle, all those lives lost, and humans had gotten there first using technology that did not exist when the Perseverance left Earth. What about those aliens? Morrison asked. The Valorians. They said they control 3,000 systems. They said they are an empire. Park's expression hardened. Yes, we know about the Valorian Empire. We have been monitoring them for 50 years. They are expansionist, militaristic, and they do not respect other species' rights. This is humanity's first direct confrontation with them. Will there be war? Sarah asked quietly. That depends on them, Park replied. But they just learned something important today. Humanity is not weak. We will not be conquered or enslaved, and we protect our own. As Park spoke, Sarah noticed more humans arriving, medics to check the survivors, engineers to repair the Perseverance, and soldiers to stand guard. Her crew would be safe now. After 800 years, they had finally reached human space. Light years away, in the Imperial throne world, Fleet Admiral Kreshna received Captain Dravor's report with growing horror. Not just the defeat itself, but the implications. Humanity was not primitive. They were not weak. They had warships that could disable an entire squadron without destroying them, showing both power and restraint. Worse, the intelligence reports confirmed Dr. Thelris's discovery. The precursors had sealed humanity away, and the Valorian Empire had broken that seal. Kreshna called an emergency session of the Imperial War Council. Leaders from across the Empire gathered, their faces appearing on holographic displays. We have a problem, Kreshna began, and explained everything. The human colony ship, the battle, the defeat, and the ancient warning. One battle, a general said dismissively. One minor defeat. The Empire has 3,000 worlds. How many do the humans have? 400, Kreshna replied. But they have something we do not. Faster than light capability that exceeds ours, weapons technology we do not fully understand, and tactical doctrines that caught us completely off guard. You are suggesting we avoid conflict with them? An admiral asked. I am suggesting we learn from this encounter before we make decisions. The precursors locked humanity away for a reason. Now they are free and they are expanding. We need to understand what we are dealing with. The council debated for hours. Some wanted immediate retaliation. Others counseled caution. In the end, they agreed to establish a border, a neutral zone between Valorian and human space, and to gather more intelligence before taking further action. But the damage was done. Word of the defeat spread through the Empire like wildfire. The Valorians, who had conquered countless species, had been defeated by a race they had never heard of. It made them look weak. It made them look vulnerable. On the Perseverance, Sarah Chen stood at a viewport looking out at the stars. Engineer Carlos Rivera stood beside her, recently awakened, still processing everything that had happened. 800 years, Carlos said quietly. We missed 800 years of human history. Yes, Sarah agreed. But we did our part. We left Earth when it was still recovering from war. We carried the hope of humanity across the stars, and even though we did not reach our destination first, we proved something important. What is that? That humans do not give up. No matter how long the journey, no matter how dark the void, we keep going. We endure, we survive. We adapt, Sarah smiled. The Valorians learned that today. The hard way, Carlos chuckled. Think they will come back? Maybe, probably. But next time they will approach with respect instead of arrogance. They will negotiate instead of demanding, because now they know what happens when you underestimate humanity. Behind them, Commander Park entered the observation deck. Dr. Chen, we are ready to escort the Perseverance back to human space. Your crew will receive the best medical care available. You will be given honors, all of you. Heroes' welcomes. Thank you, Commander, Sarah said. But I have one request. Name it. I want to visit New Terra, Hawking's Hope, you called it. I want to see the world we were trying to reach. I want to know that our mission, even though it took longer than we planned, meant something. Park smiled. Already arranged, Doctor. The moment your crew is healthy, we will take you there personally. You have earned it. Sarah looked back at the stars, at the vast darkness that she had crossed, at the future humanity had built while she slept. The journey was over, but a new chapter was beginning. And somewhere in that great darkness, the Valorian Empire was learning a lesson that would echo through galactic history. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. The colony ship Perseverance, battered but unbroken, began its final journey home, escorted by warships bearing the flag of Earth. Behind them, they left the wreckage of Valorian pride and the beginning of a new era. The Empire had tried to identify the ship. They had tried to take it by force, and they had learned too late that it came from humanity. Some mistakes cannot be undone, some warnings should be heeded, and some species once awakened cannot be put back to sleep. Humanity was awake now. The galaxy would have to adjust.